All right, welcome everybody. Tellor Dev Call, January 9th. Okay, today we'll just do the normal call and then go into Tellor roadmap. Tellor, I'll save the name. I got a name, but we're saving it. All right, so a few things first. Yeah, I guess. Mike, did you see in the lobby chat somebody found some error in our docs? So I pinged you, but we basically have the same stuff copied twice. So thank you for finding that. I think it was Zero was going through our docs, it's awesome to see you guys are actually reading our docs.
Thanks, man.
So yeah, thank you very much. We should send him like a TRB or something, or we'll send you a t-shirt, Zero. Yeah, reach out.
He reached out yesterday. He's trying to run Telly.
Okay, we'll tell him we'll send him a t-shirt. If you find bugs in our docs. It's simple. And then I think Brenda, we're deploying B&B this week, or BSC, I think it is. What's it called now?
BSC. They call it BSC.
BSC.
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll go over there. They're talking to us. We're talking with some of their people, getting some users over there, which will be cool. And then we're also we're going to talk later this week with Parity. We're talking about going over and doing something on Polkadot, which is super, super exciting. We pushed the announcement last week that says we're up on Gnosis chain. Also super exciting. Love what they're doing over there. Yeah, so a lot of stuff going on, which is super exciting. Tim, on to you.
Yeah, so I was reviewing the Reflexor PR last Friday, but looks like we have some more changes to that from over the weekend. So that'll be the main thing I'll be reviewing this morning.
Well, I think we're all going to hop on at 1 today. So if you're a Solidity dev, hop on at 1. We're all just going to go over the Reflexor is Rye for people listening. They implemented Tellor and now they're sort of upgrading it to the newest version of Tellor to make sure it works. And we just really want to make sure that we get it right for them. So they have a PR open for that. So we're gonna all sit down and pull it and walk through and try and figure out what the hell they're doing to make sure that they actually do it right. So it should be good.
We're going to be using the 1, 2, 3 slot that we had for scheduled for the user group instead. So we're just going to do that. Right now, I only have Tally and Tim, Nick, and
That's
you,
fine.
Obviously. But
Yeah, so go over it. Want to get that good for them.
yeah. So, and I actually pushed Telliot to farther down the week because we still have to do some things on the user group that we're going to be pushing to tomorrow. And hopefully we'll be done tomorrow, and then we'll pick up again with Telliot. I updated the meetings, but just so you know, it might change. Hopefully we'll be done with the user group Tuesday. So
Cool. Anything else, Tim?
And then I started poking around in the Zodiac module on Friday.
Is
I
Gorley
can confirm. I'm sorry.
Is Gorley deployed? Is that it?
That's I can't figure out. I haven't figured out yet what the issue is. I mean, I do see that it's just like when you just try to use the front end, it has some wrong address. So that does sound like it's pointing to some incorrect address, but.
Okay, and Quentin did that originally, so he's pretty responsive if you want to reach out to him, but I think we should definitely know how to do it on our own without former employee Quentin. I think the biggest thing is just going to be, does it have a Gorley address in there?
No, I didn't see one in there.
Yeah, I think that's going to be your big issue.
Oh.
Just we have to go deploy it on Gorley, so.
and then once you actually figure it out, we'll schedule a walkthrough so you can like walk us through how it works. And that way we don't have to reinvent the wheel the next time.
And then and you can do it all technically without their front end. I'm sure you know that. But then once you want me to update their front end, let me know. I can make a PR or you can. It doesn't matter.
Okay, yeah. Are you talking about like the CLI or not even that?
You were using the CLI?
Well, yeah, I started with the front end, then moved to the CLI.
Yeah, I guess both, but yeah, I mean, so like there's like the snapshot guys who you can talk to, or there's the Gnosis guys who run the multi-sig, and both it's kind of this weird process because it's like we're integrated with these two different projects, and getting everyone coordinated is sometimes a hassle, but open source development, I guess.
Yeah.
So, cool, but yeah, we should be able to knock that out pretty quick, I think.
I think so. Yeah. I'll probably talk to Quentin, see if he has any feedback.
Cool. Tally?
Hey, I put in review the diet implementation on Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I reviewed it this weekend. If you want to give it a go, you want to push it to merge, I think that's good.
Oh, you mean to their repo?
Yeah, make a PR and then send it over to even post in the dev channel on the public one.
Mhm. Yeah. And then I'll take a look at the Reflexer PR this morning.
Cool. Nice. Akram?
Good morning. I did some work on the Cadena contracts, fixed the code a little bit, cleaned it up, added shell scripts to be able to run the test all at once, deployed on testnet chain 1, added the link to me. And yeah, that's what I've done so far. And then I'm going to look at the Reflexer too.
Is he on the call at noon, Brenda?
You're not, but I'll at you.
At noon today, we have a call with the Cadena Bridge people.
Well, actually, he set it up, so we'll just send you the invitation and tell him to let you in. But it's 12 to 12:30. So.
Okay, no problem.
Sorry. Yeah.
So cool. And then Tally, you have the mimicry stuff going too. You're gonna knock that out hopefully shortly.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, let's get that done for them. So, all right, and then Ryan.
Hey, still trying to figure out how to get those filter tables going on the data feed. Gonna be working on the data feed a lot, trying to get the Gurley network added, and then I want to also get the Gnosis chain going up on the data feed. So
yeah, we got some requests there, and then I also got we got the grant from the Graph. So,
yep.
Oh,
that'll help implement
Graph
those
tokens. We were using their hosted service, and now to incentivize us to switch over to their non-hosted service, they gave us some GRT tokens. So we switching that over. Yeah, it'd be cool. Maybe we can. Yeah, we should push. Maybe we can market in some other way. Show them how we're using us. So
yep.
Cool. Yeah, looking forward to it. And then last, Owen.
Yeah, we have the Tellor work group, so I'll just be doing a bunch of docs changes before then. And then ideally do a release this week. Some of the new changes that we've had. So.
Cool. Spuddy, anything? Spuddy's back behind.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm coming.
All right.
I'm working on some detailed guide type of blog posts. It'll be detailed guides for how to do disputes and how to run Telliot. That's what I'm working on.
Cool. All right. And then Mike or Brenda, anything?
Tally, let me know when you updated that issue form. Remember, if you recall, we were gonna just add some more general questions to it for people that just want like a spot price. Because that way I can update those links in the docs while I'm editing, while I'm fixing the docs this morning.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
And Mike and Ryan, thanks for putting out the PR for Gnosis. Nick already said BNB is going to be out soon, so just make sure to let them know when our tweet is coming so they can retweet.
Yeah, I'm trying to set up a call with their marketing person this morning. It's just my only options are 5 a.m. or 11 p.m. So I'm trying to hack it with the guy.
It's almost
Okay.
odd, I guess.
Or just do it asynchronous. I don't know exactly what he wants to. You know, there's only a couple things that we do. Do we really need to have a meeting about it?
Right.
Or send me a message saying, retweet this and let's schedule an AMA at some point in the future. So
Finance is very like handshaky business culture.
yeah, I want to meet you at a coffee shop.
Yes,
and everything.
let's meet in person and
Yeah.
chat for a while. So,
Sure.
but it's, I mean, yeah, but they're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. As long as they know when to expect it, and then they can do, whatever they need to do. It does it, like you say, we can send it at some time zone and they can do it at another time zone if it worst case scenario. So
Cool. All right, Teller roadmappy time. I'm gonna switching over to speaker view. I'll pin myself. Cool. Okay. First thing, what am I calling it? We had Teller 360. Now we're going on Teller evolution. Yeah. We're just gonna go straight Pokemon vibes here. So, so like a little bit of where this comes from, we've had some questions from people who are like, okay, so you guys removed all upgradability. Your system apparently works and can be deployed to any chain. What the hell are you guys gonna do now? Can we just like stop token inflation? Can we just get rid of the team? Almost. We're so close. There's still some things that I think we can do to get Teller better. So first off, like, where are we at? I think you can get rid of the team and sort of move in that direction. Like, once you get like a little bit of product market fit, are we there yet? Probably not. If we're just being honest with ourselves, like we're not at the point where ideally what I would see there is tips are enough to sort of sustain the ecosystem. So you have time-based rewards are minimal compared to tips. You have people tipping on all of these networks and it's giving a return to token holders. It's actually, people are paying for data in a decentralized way, and actually tooling is getting built from almost the ecosystem as a whole rather than just coming from the team. We're still not there yet. People are starting to build some tools in the ecosystem, and you're starting to see more usage. But yeah, we're still not there yet. And is it something that's wrong with how the system's built, or is it something that we just sort of need to continue and sort of drive through this bear market, unfortunately, and something will pop up in the end? Looking at it, you have like what's sort of the market for oracles. There's like there's a market for oracles in DeFi, and then there's a market for decentralized oracles in DeFi, and they're actually two separate things. Like for me, like somebody who wants to use Chainlink or would use a centralized oracle, it's actually not our target market. Like a little bit, but like we're never a decentralized system can't really compete with a centralized one. Like it's never going to be as fast. It's never going to be as efficient or as cheap, and you're just not going to beat them there. So losing some customers to Chainlink like we've had, it's not as big of a loss to me as it would be if we were losing tons of customers to another decentralized oracle, which actually isn't the case. Like it's not like people are saying like, oh, we were going to use Chainlink, but they're centralized, so we went and used these other decentralized oracles. Like that's just not happening. Like no, all decentralized oracles are having trouble getting traction, and I would say we're positioned ourselves to be a really solid, lead in the pack as far as decentralized oracles go. So that said, what are we going to do to sort of make ourselves better and sort of make ourselves a better option? I think the first thing, you know, we're obviously we're going to other chains. Shouldn't use blue on this. Too much blue. Going to other chains, and then just sort of examples. You know, we're going to continue to do this because people like seeing it. Like, we tell people we can go on every chain and we can do any data, but it's almost like they don't believe you unless they see it. Obviously too, just doing it makes it easier for people. So like, if we go deploy over on Binance chain and throw up some data, people realize that they can do it. And it's one of those things like, you know, like we had about 6 months ago, it was just an idea we had. Okay, we're gonna see, can we do snapshot data? So we knew that we could do governance by, let's make an example of, we'll grab snapshot voting data and we'll put it on chain for people to use. And we had Quentin, who was our intern at the time. He grabbed it and put it on chain and built out into the Gnosis multi-sig wallet how to do it. We didn't have any users on that. But just by showing people that we could do it, now we actually have a user that's building on that exact data type. So it's one of those things that by giving people example and showing them more up on these chains, it's gonna lead to, you know, people just sort of moving it in their mind. Same with, you know, we had the idea of a few months ago to do cross-chain balances. So you can query a balance and you can, from one chain, and you can put it on another one just with a Merkle root. We have a user who's going to do that. So super cool. Examples, people like examples. This is something that we're just going to keep doing. I know this isn't the sexiest thing as far as what we're doing on a tech side, but it's definitely something that has paid dividends, and we're going to keep doing it. The next thing, this one, you know, we've talked about this piece a little bit, but we're going to expand it. And this is unique IDs. And there's sort of several classes here. So the first one is just, what are some unique data points that we can put on chain? Almost that goes back to like these examples. You know, anybody can put every data point on chain, but a lot of them are more or less coordination and definitional problems. So the big one that we talk about is like the CPI. So like a lot of stable coins here are pegged to the US dollar. We all know you don't actually want to peg to the US dollar, you want to peg to some stable basket of things. You know, right now there's a lot of dollar risk in there. So like, how do you peg to something that isn't the US dollar or dollar denominated? And that's really, really hard. So ideally you would need sort of a basket of goods that was sort of priced in cryptocurrencies that you could then go and find out. And that would be like, you know, if you think like the US has the Bureau of Labor Statistics, all these goods. The problem is to do that, you actually need to do like surveys. You need to say like, what's the price of oil? What's the price of housing? What's the price of cars? And you need to aggregate that data and put it on chain in a trusted way. It's kind of a cool place for an oracle to be. People have already expressed interest in this data. A lot of projects have said that they would want to do this, but there's just no data available. This would be something that Tellor could probably do. You know, similar type surveys would be, you know, there's like employment data, GDP data, you know, a lot of these things that sort of go beyond just grabbing off-chain information and putting it on chain. It turns us into more of, okay, well, we're sort of standardizing some of these definitions and making it more of like this research type organization, which is really cool to me. Feel free to stop me if I'm not clear at any point, guys. So I really like that one. The other one too, what?
It's really cool, but you should talk like it's also part of our background. So
it is, yeah. So Brenda worked at the Bureau of Labor Statistics with me. She was actually on the PPI, which is an inflation index, and then we did the employment statistics. So if there's any team in the space to do it, it probably should be, you know, as far as backgrounds go. Not that I give a whole lot of credence to backgrounds, but it's okay. The next thing too, so we've talked about this. You could actually have, so there's like unique IDs, and this is sort of a subset, which is owned IDs. So one of the issues with Tellor currently, I don't know if it's an issue, but just like, how do we define data specs? So we have like, like the ETHUSD, for instance. Like what does ETHUSD mean? And ETHUS dollars, so right now, the current ETHUS dollars, it actually means whatever Tellor voters believe is a valid ETHUS dollar price. It's very, very subjective and open. This sort of works because it makes it censorship resistant and kind of upgradable in the sense that if you specify we want the Coinbase price, now Coinbase can censor you because they can just say like, if Coinbase goes down or if they stop serving an API, then you're censored. That's a problem. So we have it this little bit more flexible, but some projects might want, say, I want the 5 top volume exchanges. So like we could do that. We could specifically define a data spec to do that. But what would also be really cool is if we say like, how about your DAO or your project has control over a specific feed? So like you own, so it's like ETHUSD, you could make it like the Liquidity feed, and then Liquidity could say, it points to a data spec at some IPFS link, and then Liquidity's governance token holders get to say which data spec or which IPFS link is valid for this ETHUS dollar price. So right now they could say we're going to use Kraken, Binance, and Coinbase. And then in 6 months, they say we're going to change it. There's some new exchange that has all the volume, and they go and upgrade which link this goes to. And then the Tellor reporters have to start reporting to something else. That way they own it. It's sort of different, and you can move some of those definitions around. And Tellor could also, back to the examples, we could launch some of our own. You could sort of standardize some of these price feeds, because the more vague one really works for if you really, really want to be censorship resistant and not have a whole lot of touch in it. But if you are willing to have a little bit more touch, you can sort of hone in on what actually a good price is, which is also really important if you're going to sort of scale this high frequency DeFi. So, if you wanted to know, like, this is the exact price at this second, you would need to know the exact exchanges you're pulling from. So trade-offs, but I think it's something that we can definitely play around with.
But the trade-offs are something that the user owns. Like
trade-offs are what
user
user
choose
owns.
whatever they want to choose. And that's where it should be.
Yeah. And the other thing that we're going to set up too, this goes along with the owned IDs. We can do farther staking. So like Liquidity could say, okay, so ETHUS dollar prices, so that they could also add, we're going to make staking contracts to say like, in addition to reporting on this query ID, we only want it if you're staked on Tellor and I'm trying to write additional stake. It's not working. And if you're staked with additional stake. So you could imagine that Liquidity could say, listen, we don't really like waiting 15 minutes for our price feed. That's just not going to go. We need it way faster. And then we would come back and tell them, listen, you can do it way faster. The only problem is that the faster you do it, the less secure it is, because, people could dispute it or there's not as much stake involved, per second. So why don't you add in an additional stake? So now you have to stake. You could have it with TRB. So you stake an additional 10,000 TRB or some ridiculous amount. The trade-off is now you're limiting your reporter set. The good thing is now there's a whole lot more staked per report. They could also do something fun where they have to stake Liquidity tokens. Now projects who have not saying that's Liquidity, have a useless governance token or something like that, now you have to stake it if you want to report to Oracle or something like that. And now you can have something really fast, but you have to stake a whole bunch of our tokens. Again, we're not going to force anything on the users, but it's just, you get to decide where you want that to be. So do you want people to have more stake? do you want it to be more secure just by waiting? That's sort of how Tellor currently operates. It's secure by the longer the time, the more secure it is. If you want it more secure in shorter time, you got to beef up the stake. And whether you wanted to use TRB, whether you wanted to use your own token, up to you. But it's something that we're going to explore, and we're going to work with people to just show them this is how you secure an Oracle feed. And a lot of
So
people can,
examples on how to secure their feed personally, like on the side of the protocol instead of like through Tellor. And
yeah. So that's definitely something that I'm super excited about, because there's a lot of projects we work with that just, they're like, yeah, and we have this token that's completely worthless and doesn't have a meaning to it. I'm like, guys, like, why don't you just require them to stake it for Tellor? Like now you have Oracle staking for your token. Like now there's an actual use. Like you didn't have to do anything. Like you just are forcing our reporters to go buy more, which is whatever. Or you can give reporters your token.
And they increase their security. It's very easy to calculate how much or how secure Tellor is, if you have the time and the price of Tellor, and the time that you're waiting. So this is a very easy way to increase your security.
Yep. So other things that we're gonna do, I guess, probably like one of the last like tech ones, I guess you could say, would be decentralizing the data specs. So I'm sure most of this one's like, we sort of put it off because no one's really censoring GitHub at the moment, but we saw there were some cracks in the whole thing with the Tornado Cache piece. Right now we store the data specs on GitHub, and to update the data specs, so like if there is a dispute on a feed, the way that we have it now is you would sort of go to the data specs, and it's like sort of off-chain, on-chain governance. You know, it's not like hard-coded in anywhere that this is how it works, but this is how we want to tell people it works, is, you know, assuming you're like a jury out there, you would look at the data specs and be like, this is the definition that's in place. Which way do I vote based upon this definition? And right now it's all hosted on GitHub. The problem with hosting it on GitHub is we kind of have to approve those changes. Not that we have anybody else really. We had a few people that have made merges to data specs, but it's not like it's this decentralized or anything, this contentious piece of information. But we would want, ideally, put on IPFS, put it somewhere to where you don't have to rely on the Tellor team to merge it at all. You launch a query ID, and then there's some mapping somewhere that maps the query ID to some IPFS contract that has the data specs written in it. And then this is the data specs for this given query ID. And maybe you could put an owner in it. So like the liquidity governance token, maybe you don't have an owner and it's just, that's it forever. So use a different query ID if you don't like it. But something just to make sure that we decentralize it and remove the team as far as we possibly can. And then maybe, Brenda will yell at me for saying this.
No.
Maybe we remove the
Nicolas, no.
maybe we remove the team share from voting. So like that's always, you know, like right now the voting percentages are, you have like the team share, the users, the reporters, and damn it, who's the other? The token holders. That's right.
Yes. But that will happen. That will eventually happen, but it has to happen once we get to the point where tips are actually greater than just inflationary rewards, if you think about it, because that's when users actually have a real voice and vote. Because otherwise, if they're not tipping, that, you know, they don't really have a vote, because that's how you weight them. So we will eventually do that, because you can delete, but it will take time. I don't know that it'll be this year. If it is this year, because we're gonna get a lot of implementations, because we're showing people how to increase their security and we're showing people different use cases, then absolutely. Then they don't really need the team to be that referee, because that's, at the end of the day, that's all that we're doing up until we make sure that the protocol is mature enough so that we can walk away and say, like, it's still going to be secure and be used by our users, whether or not we vote. Yes.
This is one of those spicy founding disagreements as far as
Right.
we're pushing towards decentralization.
We are. It's just
Yes.
like you said, we have to be mature enough, and there are some
Um,
parameters for that.
Anyway. So. And this, so, okay, so that was like the tech changes. And then we'll briefly touch on like, you know, the roadmap. I put together some things like how did we do on like sort of the marketing side and how we talk about Tellor. And you know, like I was kind of talking about at the beginning, like we're not losing to some decentralized Oracle, like we're sort of positioning ourselves. I like how we're positioning ourselves going forward, especially as the space gets more and more concerned about decentralization and decentralization actually becomes viable. I think we're setting it up, and this was, you know, this is something that we're going to need to just keep doing. So like, how do we get known more? This has been such a topic for, you know, the last 3 years. Like you're going up against some big projects. You want to be in the conversation. Like as soon as somebody says Oracle, how do you get known more? You know, and that goes into, we're launching on every chain. Every chain's going to know us and we're going to be in the docs. That's going to be super big. You know, all these chains, all these unique data points that we're showing examples of, these are all press releases. These are all things that we can show people. So we want to keep making a push. Whenever people think I need to bring data on chain, they think Tellor, you know, they know that we're a decentralized secure option. And that's just something that it comes with time, and we're doing it. And the other thing, like I would say a big successful sort of marketing campaign, like we've really like honed in on this censorship resistant messaging. So like, I don't know, I think we showed off the t-shirts on one of the previous calls, but we had like, you know, the t-shirt messaging was all about censorship resistance, even like the hats have been for a while. And we're really making a push like to do that sort of branding and messaging. And I think it's paid off. Like, I think people really like it. So, you know, we're going to continue to do that. And then last,
You might want to write resistance up there.
censorship. They got us.
See a screenshot on Twitter.
Yes, we're all about censorship. No, you know, like we're not flashy with marketing. We're not going to ever be flashy with marketing. It's not how we operate. We're going to get out there. We're going to continue to just meet people. We're going to meet these projects, and you know, the more that you guys can help, you know, just still keeping it grassroots, and it's worked for us, and we're going to keep it working. So, all right, any questions? None of this should be too shocking.
Yeah. We've been working on chains already. The unique IDs are sort of new, and that's, you know, because we think we will have a lot more time later on. The own feeds, I think that's just really great for our users so that they can really own their security. And then moving the data specs to either IPFS or somewhere else. We've discussed that before as well. And then removing the team's vote from disputes, you know, we've discussed that, and we've always talked about or gone back and forth, at least me and Nick, on like we need to wait until it's mature enough so that the security, you know, is maintained once we remove that. But none of this, I feel like we've discussed this with all of you guys before, but this is basically our next year, sort of.
Yeah, I mean, and ideally, like in a perfect world, we actually don't do any of this. Like in a perfect world, we are so swamped with integrations and our price is going through the roof, and like we have no time to do any of this. That would be phenomenal. Like, but if we do have a little bit of free time to do some more examples and to launch on other chains without, hopefully other users will just launch on their own chains. Like they don't even need to talk to us. That's perfect. So.
And we discussed everything on the Solidity side, Owen. For Tellor, I think all we want is like to just get it to the point where it is really stable, and then we can just focus on making sure that everybody knows how to add fees, add new chains, and just make sure that it works like super well. And then hopefully, if we get to getting to optimizing rather than just get to optimize it. So, if you were wondering where Tellor fits in here. So.
Cool.
All right.
Deep questions.
Brian, questions?
It was just about the adding Gnosis to the data feed.
And you're doing that. So
We're
you're
gonna be doing that this week.
yeah. Cool. All right, guys. Well, thanks for I can jump in. Yeah, thanks everybody for listening. It's fun. So, all right. See you guys next week.
Bye.